What's up, everybody? Today I'm with Michael Trautman. Hi, Michael. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. What got you into performing?
I was going to be a lawyer. I went to college. I studied political science. It was the 70s. I was going to change the system. And then I figured out after about 3.5 years that it would be me and not the system that would do the changing.
Okay.
But I was in college and not a performer at all. The school I went to had every year we did a fundraiser for the yearbook, a little musical comedy show, and I performed in that. It was my first stage experience. In my senior year, I created a character who didn't have any lines, but I mugged and fell down and sort of stole the show.
Okay.
And another friend of mine who had left college to become a professional ballet dancer came back and saw that and said, well, you should go take a mime class.
Okay.
I kicked around for a while and I found a mime class and it was just, the door opened and the light went on and so I started training, and then I was part of a company in Kansas City called Mime Walk back in the 70s.
Okay.
And then started taking more classes and studying movement, and got in with jugglers and magicians, and expanding the vocabulary that I had in terms of performance, and did birthday parties and street performing, and then a school show, and toured with that. And 42 years later, I'm still doing it. Yeah.
Wow, man, that's a story. Tell me, let's go right back to sparking the miming. What got you wanting to do mime and all that in the beginning? Where was this? Okay, I was going to be a lawyer, and then
that was the lawyer was, and I was fairly serious about that. I grew up in Springfield, Illinois, in the state capital. I had a job working in the State Bar Association in high school, and have always had a strong interest in politics and the operation. But I was never a good academic student. I'm the guy who was staring out the window and daydreaming and lacking in focus or attention, and wasn't a good for academics. But once I found movement, and that first mime class was my first movement class that I'd ever done.
Okay.
And it was the 70s. Mime was incredibly popular. Shields and Yarnell had a TV show. They were a mime duet, and they had a summer replacement show in 76.
Robert Shields?
Yeah.
I know Robert Shields. That's amazing.
And they had a TV show, and Marcel Marceau was touring constantly then in the States. Mummenschanz came on the scene, and I saw them. I met him years and years ago in Philadelphia. So there used to be a mime festival.
You did the same kind of mannequin idea?
I did some of that at one
point. That's amazing. This act is movement. It's unbelievable. If you got to see Robert Shields, it's amazing. To see this mime, I mean, this is such an art form.
That's the basis of mime and improvisation. I trained with two of the great teachers of the 20th century, Tony Montanaro, who ran Celebration Barn up in Maine.
I've been to Celebration, did it last year with Avner.
Right.
That was awesome.
I started working with Tony in '83 and trained with him off and on over the years for '83 up to '04 when he passed away. And then I went to Paris and spent a year at École Jacques Lecoq, which is pretty well known in the clown.
What was that like?
It was great. I went to him because I knew Avner previous, and Avner had trained with Lecoq, and the thing I loved most about Avner was his consistency of going out, and every show was a good show.
Yeah.
And part of that is the training, and so I started going. I went and worked with Lecoq. I had the opportunity and spent the year there in Paris, and but it's all mime and improvisation based movement. And I've studied the curriculum, and I figured out, and the teaching that I do now is really based on physical communication.
Okay.
How do you create a character physically, and the shape of the character, and how do you express and speak
and how you
verbally.
Connect with the audience with that character. Yes.
And so all that mask work and training it helps you become a good actor. I tell people, I call myself a clown. I'm an actor who plays a clown. I'm an
Yeah.
actor who plays characters, and the characters tend to be over the edge a little bit. And to me, that's what a clown is somebody who's, they're some sort of form of character, but it's a character who's been exaggerated or has some sort of tick. For me, the cowboy is a clown character. He's got that, but he's a takeoff, a spoof of the American clown, and that piece actually came out of the idea of our American obsession with guns and shooting. And I went into the studio actually after the Sandy Hook massacre in Connecticut, and said, okay, what can I do? What can I say about this? And, I got in the studio, and this is what came out. It's got nothing to do with that really, other than that's where I started, and that's the idea got me in the room, and eventually I found this character and that target shooting act, and but that's, you never know where a seed or inspiration is going to come from. And now it's a totally fun, crazy act that I get to do, and I love doing it. I started in on that about 6-7 years ago, and I worked on it for 4 years before I ever performed it, because I knew I had, number one, invented a skill, which is in this day and age impossible to actually create a skill. With the target stuff, created this skill that is, it's goofy and stupid, but
so Michael hits a little projector, hits a can in the air, and then hits the can also in the air at the same time, throws a dime high in the air and hits it with a ping pong ball. Really cool. I mean, I do ping pong ball stuff myself, and it is hard work. People don't understand when you do the magic or you do the juggling, anything with ping pong balls, if you have a lot of wind, it's hard. If it's lightweight, these things can roll around. It's not like, okay, it's a regular beanbag juggling ball. It's not. You have to really master it, and it takes time. And it can be a mess, ping pong balls everywhere, but that can be also a lot of fun.
Yeah, and that was what really set this piece off, was when I finally stopped trying to catch them. I was working on a bounce trick, and I set up 4 marble tiles, and so that I could hit 1, 2, 3. I'd spit and hit one,
cool.
and then go
bounce,
bing, bing,
ricochet.
bing, bing, and then I had a paddle and come back to here and back into my mouth. But it took so long to set them up, and keep them in the right position. It wasn't really a stage. You couldn't do it on stage because you got to set up on, and you don't have that kind of. And they're so precise. But I realized I was hitting very accurately. And it's like, oh, if I don't worry about catching it, I can just hit things. And it was like, the light bulb.
That's what's funny about your show. Okay, so after your show, there's ping pong balls everywhere. I mean, it's a mess. And honestly, it's funny. Like, it's like you got the guys who are sweeping up the stuff, and it's like you just made this crazy mess. And I'm just like, oh my God, who's after him? I mean, this show is like, it's crazy. And that's the thing about clowning. Like, there's no rules.
Well,
it's just do whatever you want, have fun.
Clown is an anarchist.
Yes, tell me about more about that.
Well, the clown is somebody who doesn't, they actively break rules, they ignore rules. There are, they're
doing left turns.
They're
what
not,
you expect. It's not what you think it is.
And historically, that's who the clown is. Every culture has some form of clown, and it's often, it's the person who. It's the jester who makes fun of the king, and when anybody else who did anything like that would be instantly beheaded. They'd be killed. The church had a form of it where there was a clown, a jester, who would come out of a little window up above the pastor and a long pole, and he'd hit people who were falling asleep and wake them up. The American Indian tribes had backward characters who would ride their horse backward, and they'd go in the water and wash, and then come out and rub sand on them, because it was, just to make you realize that things are not always and don't have to be the way that you accept them or the way you think they should be. He's a contrarian. Every culture's got some form of the clown, though. And
is this a big thing for you? Is this whole it speaks
absolutely.
who you are and your voice?
Back to the idea of wanting to change the world. I wanted to be a lawyer because I wanted to see how can we change the system. This was the 70s, Nixon and the Vietnam and all of that, and there was a big social movement for change, and I thought, well, I could become a lawyer and But then I realized that I could, when I couldn't see that path anymore of going and spending years in a law library or doing that work. But I found this other path where I was all of a sudden contrarian, and I was helping people laugh and doing a community.
Awesome.
The performance is a community act. We all get in the same room together. To me, it's my religion. We get in the room together, and I conduct us through this experience that everybody's involved in. And so instead of hymns and prayers, I tell jokes and we laugh, and the audience, and I get the audience to go yeehaw together. And it's exactly.
How does
the
that
same
make you feel when you get the whole audience to
it's
do these
fantastic.
things?
It's fantastic.
Who says? I mean, a lot of people say yeehaw, but you get it like a couple times. Yeehaw, wahoo!
Yeah. No, it's participating. It's drawing. And that's what theater is. We come into the room and we go on this trip, and as the performer, it's my job to take and lead the trip and have everybody go with me. And that's the sort of the acting skill comes in, where you've got to be a good leader.
Right.
And one of the things that I try and teach when I teach other performers, and I direct and do a lot of creative work, but an important lesson is that the audiences are excellent empaths. They understand body language without having to think about it. And so when you're on stage, the audience is reading exactly how you feel.
Yep.
And if you're up there and you feel crappy
Nervous,
or nervous, that's what the audience feels. And which makes juggling a particularly difficult thing to perform, because you get up and you're going to fail. I don't care who you are going to fail. At some point you're going to drop, and how you deal with that is then the audience, they're going to feel about it the same way you do. I fail all the time with the target acting, but it does not bother me.
Right. Exactly.
That's not why I'm here. I'm here to succeed, and the audience wants you to succeed.
Yeah.
And so all I have to do is just let go and succeed, and rather than letting that failure weigh me down. That's one of the things that Avner really focuses on in his clown teaching is, how do we fail successfully? It's the art of failure.
So those who don't know Avner Eccentric is an amazing clown. If you've ever heard of him, he's done Broadway. He did a 2-hour silent all the way through, standing ovations almost every show. And you've known him, and I've been privileged to meet him and work with him. And one thing he told me was like, hey Lucian, when you juggle, sometimes the best thing is to drop. And when you do drop, it's how you recover and make the audience enjoy it, and make them feel like, you know what? This is fun. Dropping can be fun, and things can be interesting. It's not about the drop, it's not about the juggle. It's about the connection with the audience, and whatever happens, they are liking you. It's a likability. And I feel like with you, it's the same way. You're getting them to like you so much, it doesn't matter how many ping pong balls are on stage.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
That's what I'm saying.
Let's go on to physical comedy. Where do you feel about physical comedy? You think it's better? Because I love performing, and I love clowning, and I love juggling and all these things. I really feel that the audience, no matter what the skill level is, they love skill, they love high, you got to be good at what you do, but they really appreciate someone where they can really connect personal. Like, wow, that's kind of like me, or maybe how he walks, or if he does like slaps, and falls down and all these things. But the way I feel is that they really connect with the physical. If you do the mime and you touch a certain thing, or you grab something, or you have a lot of energy, I think this is the body, the way you are and how you walk on stage and do things is so much more important performing wise than just the skill itself. Can you elaborate that for you about miming and how that's helped you, or physical comedy has helped you to really make your show even much better?
There's one universal language. Body language. Any culture, anywhere, we all understand body language, and the gross gestures are like the big emotions, the big ideas are the easiest to translate across any and every culture. Where it falls apart is in the small gesture and the details, because this means one thing in one culture and means something completely different in another. It's like, this is these are like adjectives that, down here. the
Yep.
big emotions,
Mhm.
the
Yep.
you know, the head,
Yeah.
the chest,
Wow.
the physical.
Very nice.
And so everybody understands that, and that's what makes physical performance so interesting. It's not just physical performance; it's any performance. Anytime you're on stage, actors are on stage. They may be on stage for an hour. They're only speaking for 10 minutes, but we're reading them for that entire hour. And unless they're a bad actor, and it's like, they finish a line and they drop their character. Like, where'd that guy go? What happened?
Yeah.
And the audience is unconsciously, constantly doing that. And so our job as entertainers, as performers, being on stage is to make every second, every moment a clear, lucid idea. And it's an enormous amount of pressure, because to maintain that kind of focus and the amount of rehearsal, it's not just practicing the skills. Yes, you do need to want to have a high level, because part of this entertainment industry is the spectacle and doing things that people will go, wow. The physicality, though, lets them in. Mm-hmm. And that's really one of the major parts of clowning is that the most difficult exercise that you'll do in learning clown is to come out on stage and do nothing. And now I'm serious about that, because as soon as people hit the stage, they're like, okay, what am I going to do? I got to do something.
Yep. Everyone's watching me. Everyone's watching me. I have to do something.
You know what?
They're judging me.
Everybody in the mall or in the park and watch other people go by. Why do you watch someone go by? They're interesting. They're being people. We like other people. We like to look at them, and if we can watch them and without intruding or feel like making them uncomfortable, we just enjoy seeing a human being. If you can learn to be present and be a real person, that's the chief goal in mask work and in clown work is how can you stand there and really be present and connect with the audience without doing something.
Wow.
If you can get there, then everything else is easy. Every time I come out on stage now, the first time in front of the audience, the first thing I want to do is just let them see me and connect with them.
Is there a ritual that you like to do before you go on stage, or what you think about when you first walk out? You say, okay, let's just be calm, relax, and let them.
Well, you don't always want to be calm and relaxed. You need this sometimes. You need this. You need all of that in there. I have a couple of exercises before I go on that I'll do that help me be present and aware.
Anything in particular that you want to share?
There's a breath exercise that I'll use, which is just this encompassing type of gesture. It's like, the idea is that you're making a gesture that encompasses the entire performance space, and then you're letting the body relax completely.
What does it do for you?
It just focuses. It just provides some focus, to be present.
That's the hardest thing, just being present on stage.
And not thinking about
the rest of the act or the juggle or trick.
I broke a string, or
because once you take that first foot, man, they're watching you.
Yeah,
they're watching the whole time.
And it's something that I use, which particularly with my clown character, is to be able to arrive at a spot and be there.
Okay.
And not be dancing around. And people do it all the time. It's like, they're up here and
they'll make a speech, so they'll keep walking back and forth.
They never stop. And what this does, if I arrive here and I'm just here, then the audience is there too.
Yeah, I feel comfortable when that's just he's there.
He's there. Here he am.
Makes me feel more relaxed too, to be a viewer.
If I come out and I'm like nervous and I say, okay, this is me really.
And this is your character.
Yes, if you got a character but even then, it's like, you need to be still sometimes. So the gesture, the movement is all a huge part of the communication. I encourage people to study any and every kind of movement you can.
Okay,
you need to, again, I said it's the universal language is gesture, is physical body language. When you learn a language, the first thing you do is increase your vocabulary.
Yeah.
We need to constantly increase our physical vocabulary. and to learn subtleties and you know, the more vocabulary I have, if I can move like
awesome, man.
Something, and there may be a point as an actor or performer where I need that gesture.
Yep, or underwater or
or I
something.
know how to figure it out. I know how to find it, and so and that's one of the things I teach is increasing your physical vocabulary so that you can find characters or movements or gestures.
Maybe
or
you could teach me a
statements.
few things or two.
Yeah, I teach all the time.
Nice,
I'm happy
man.
to do that.
When is performing giving back to you? One last question.
Life. I'd be dead if I didn't do what I do.
You ever think about going back to be a lawyer?
No. I'm most alive when I'm on stage, and
awesome.
I get to connect with people and take them somewhere. And that's the gift is you know what I get to experience with the audience.
Right. Yes. Actually, I have one more question. Your hair, you've had long hair for a long time. Where does this hair come from?
I've had this haircut actually since about 1990. I used to have long, big curly hair.
Okay.
I started using this one.
Was it a character idea that you wanted to have? A reason for it?
Yeah, I do a fair amount of hat work or characters who wear hats, and with the longer hair, it tends to stick out and look ugly coming out from under the hat.
Okay.
And this one.
So maybe like take the hat off and poof, his hair.
Yeah. So it's gotten more extreme over the years. When I do the ping pong juggling, I do a bit where I'm doing this with the hair.
Oh no.
Which is it's like.
Thank you very much, Michael. I appreciate it.
Yeah, a pleasure.
Thanks for watching, guys. See you guys next time.